the Shir to Or Dach Yomi and Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph. Continuing the Maimer Erdana, the second Erdana in Vayira. We were speaking before about the difference between Das Elyon and Das Tachten. Speaking before about the difference between Das Elyon and Das Tachten. Two ways that Hashem looks at the world. That Hashem himself is infinite, and the way that he knows about everything is called Yediyah Atzmis, Eina Yediyah Shechatz Mimenu. It's not that Hashem has to find out about what's going on and then he'll know. Hashem, that he's the creator of the world, the fact that he knows about it, that's how it exists. So that's called Das Elyon. That Hashem from himself, he knows everything, and that's what's making it exist. Whereas Das Tachten means that based on what we're doing, Hashem knows from what we do how he should treat us. So these two ways of Hashem looking at us are expressed in two levels. There's Atzilus and there's higher than Atzilus, which that's specifically the Oros and the Kelim. Atzilus is the world that Hashem made, that through that he's going to relate to us on our level. Like we gave a mashal, you have a father, that he's a very big chacham, he's very smart, and he's a very intellectual person, and his little son is playing with blocks on the floor. So he really doesn't care about playing with blocks, but because he cares about his son, so he lowers himself down to the level of his son to play with him. And if the son does well, he's very happy, and if the son doesn't do well, he's very sad. So from himself, on his own level, he really doesn't care about playing with blocks. But because he cares about his son, so he lowers himself to that level. So Hashem himself is infinite, but he lowers himself kaviyachol to our level, that he deals with us, and he really cares about us, and he gives us according to what we're doing, even though from himself he's really infinite, and so he's much higher than all the worlds. But since he cares about us, so he lowers himself through the world of Atzilus to give us according to what we're doing. If we do good, then he wants to give us good things, and if we do not good, he wants to teach us how to do better. So these are the two aspects of Das Elyon and Das Tachten. So we're using this idea to explain, in today's shir we'll explain three topics. First we're going to finish explaining the answer to the question, if Hashem learns about what's going on in the world, so that's making a change in Hashem. Just like when you learn something, it makes a change in you. Before you didn't know, and now you do know. So if Hashem is learning and finding out new information, so then it's making a change in Hashem. And Hashem doesn't change. Hashem is one simple essence that is eternal. So you can't say that we're changing Hashem. Hashem is Achdus Apshuta. Hashem is a simple unity. And so the answer we're going to say is that really it's not making a change in Hashem, because really Hashem knew everything anyways. It's just that Hashem lowers himself to a level where he's involved in knowing us, which that's the world of Atzilus, so that he should be able to relate to us. But really from himself, he already knows everything, so it's not making a change in him. So we start from the top of the Amud. So this that Hashem comes to deal with us or relate to us on our level through the world of Atzilus, it's also through the Malachim, that this a way that he's expressing himself to us through the kingdom of Atzilus is also through the Malachim, which are, like we said, like you have a phone, that the phone doesn't doing anything by itself, you're just using it to call someone else. So these Malachim are like these instruments that Hashem uses to give to us and to look at us and to hear from us. So these malachim, some of them are called like eyes and like ears, meaning that through these malachim, Hashem is seeing and hearing what's going on in our world on that level. And they're everywhere in the world. Like it says, you should see what's above you, an eye that sees, meaning that Hashem has these hidden cameras, that he's everywhere and he's seeing everything. We're going to explain soon that l'chora this is a very astonishing thing to say, Why does Hashem need an infinite amount of cameras and microphones to hear everything that's going on? Hashem knows everything anyways. So we're going to explain that to him. But right now we're saying that Hashem has these angels through which he's always seeing and hearing everything that's going on. When you're speaking about Hashem, the way he comes into the kingdom of Atzilus, the way that Hashem comes down to relate to us on our level, so then you're saying that he's coming to look at us, not just he knows everything from himself, but he's actually coming and staring and looking at us. And through them, through these kelim, so everything goes up to Hashem, the way that he's expressing himself in the world of Atzilus, which is called the Or HaMelubash B'Kelim. The way that it's in the Or, the way that Hashem himself understands everything, it's Goliv Yadua. Hashem already knows everything. So we're saying, on the one hand, Hashem is coming to look at us through the kingdom of Atzilus and through the Malachim. So it's like there's new information coming. But really, when it comes to Hashem already knows it. It's already Goliv Yadua. It's like if you have a camera, but you know what the camera is gonna see. It's a little bit funny, but whatever. You're in your world that you're creating. Here you have to go back. When you learn Chassidus, you have to use Meshalim, and sometimes you have to combine a lot of different Meshalim. So imagine in your world that you're creating in your mind, you decide that you're going to make a bunch of cameras and microphones to find out what's going on in that world. It sounds funny, no? Because if you're creating the world in your own mind, so you definitely know what's going to happen, right? Because you're creating it. So why do you need to put cameras and microphones in your world that you're creating? But that's what we're saying, that there's two levels. In other words, when a person makes the world in his own mind, so he's making this world, but he can't exist in the world that he's creating. He can't be one of the characters in his story that he's making in his mind, because he's the creator of the world. He's not one of the characters. But Hashem can be both. Hashem, at the same time that he's creating this world, he's also making himself as though he's one of the characters in the world that he's creating. Meaning that he's making himself as though he's part of that world that he's making, and he has to look and hear what's going on at the same time that he's really the creator of the world. That's called he's Mamali and Soviv. At the same time, you Mamali, you Soviv Kalamin. That's right. This is something that we can't do. By a person, either you're in the story or you're out of the story. You can't be in and out of the story at the same time. You can't be the author and the character. But Hashem could be both the author of the story and the character in the story at the same time. Sha'or Sha'yidei Ein HaMashodim Hi B'chenes Goliv Yidul L'Orin Sefer Baruch HaMelubash B'Kelim Kivan Sha'or Be'emes Lav Mikol Inin Midasihu Klal Av Pisha Melubash B'Kli Chulu. V'zeh It's the Kushas HaPhilosophem Shin Yidiyah V'Ashkach HaZegur B'chenes Ribui. So this is the answer to the question the philosophers asked, that Hashem's knowledge of the world doesn't make a change in Hashem. Because this knowledge that Hashem has, that he's looking at things, that's only in the Kilim, that's only in the way that Hashem relates to us through the world of Atzilus and the Malachim. But Hashem himself, his knowledge, that he has already, he knows everything, which that's called the Or, which is Melubash in the kingdom. So that's called Goliv Yadua. That's called that he already knows what's going to happen. So it's not making a change in him. So in other words, if you're speaking about Hashem the way that he's the author, so anyways he knows it's going to happen. It's not making a change in him. And if you're speaking about Hashem the way that he makes himself like he's a character in the story, so then also it's not the author. It's just the way that Hashem is making himself like he's the character. So it's not a problem that he should be changed, because Hashem is just making himself that come down to our level. But really Hashem himself is not being changed. So now Alter Rebbe wants to explain a little bit more about why you need these malachim, and why do you need all these hidden malachim cameras, the hidden angel cameras, to see what's going on. Hagav Ayma, part Israel of Perk Chas Vashard Al Perk Des Minyan Zev Zer, Bekudi Rishon Besa, Narishon Besa Madal Fini, Ini Hashem Kulun Not Leishkoch Lusachul, Ayin Shem Avram Mahim, the Parsha Shoftim Daf, Ayin Moshe Samadaf Sofa Madalef. So the Zohar says that he has a bunch of mashkichim. All these angels, they're like big mashkichim, writing down what's going on, seeing if you're coming on time to Seder. They shall have in. Kivin de Pirsheni Hashem, Himakilim Neses First Abiyah. V'amalachim, Imkein Ech Sheikh Shabar Yisbarach Yitzarech Leidas Kolan Avram Leidim So says Spheres. So we have to understand this, Why would Hashem need all of these, the Kelim of Atzilus and the Malachim to know what's going on? If Hashem makes the eye, then He for sure can see Himself without having to make an eye. So the Alter says an interesting thing. If you're speaking about Hashem is giving to us to relate to us on a level, then for sure it has to be through the kingdom of Atzilus and Malachim. When the father wants to play with his child, he has to come down to the level of the child to give to him, right? So if Hashem wants to give to us something in our level, it has to be through the kingdom of Atzilus and through the Malachim. But that Hashem should know everything, He doesn't need to come down to our level just to know everything. The father doesn't need to come and speak to the child on the child's level to understand how the child works. The father anyways knows exactly how his child works. So why does Hashem need all these cameras, these hidden angel camera mashkichim? So now we're explaining a little bit more. What does it mean, das ani das tachten? It says Hashem, there's two das. There's two ways of Hashem looking at the world. A higher way and a lower way. The higher way of Hashem looking at the world is called, it encompasses everything. It could be that somebody he knows everything, but it's not affecting him. It's not coming into his emotions. That he should be affected by the thing that he knows. In other words, he could know about it, but it doesn't affect him in any way. Like I said, Hashem doesn't see Averis, Hashem doesn't see iniquity in Yaakov. Doesn't mean Hashem doesn't see it all. For sure Hashem knows everything we're doing. It says Hashem saw what we're doing not good, and He didn't think about it. It's like, okay, so fine. Like it says, if you did good, so what did you give to Him? Meaning that there's a level of Hashem's knowledge where it's not affected by the good and the not good things that people are doing. Like it says, Hashem is pure eyes, that He doesn't see bad. That Hashem sees the bad, it doesn't affect Him at all. There's a quote from Pasik in the Mishlei. It says that a spider you can grab with your hands, but when it's in the rooftops of the king's palace, so then nobody cares about it. What does that mean? Yeah, it's in the Bas of the Ganis. It's in a lot of my marm. What does that mean? It means that the king, because he's thinking about very big and important things. So if there's a spider crawling on the top of a ceiling, he doesn't care. Even though if that spider would be right in front of him in his face, so maybe it would bother him a little bit. But since he's thinking about more important things, so why does he care that there's a spider on the top of a ceiling, even though a spider doesn't belong in the palace of a king? But why should he care about it? He's thinking about more important things. So Hashem knows everything that's going on, but on this level, it's like it's not affecting Hashem. And in the level where Hashem is not being affected by all these things, so that's why Hashem can forgive us, because He's higher than being bothered by our averos. So that's Hashem can forgive us from our averos. Yeah, it's makif. There's a person can know about something, but it won't affect him in any way. So if there's a level where Hashem knows everything, He's not affected by it, so where does reward and punishment come from? Right? In other words, if we're saying that's like the father and the child, if the father is really much higher than the child, and he doesn't care about the little game that his child's playing with, so then there's no schar v'nainish. He's not going to come to play with him. So no, Hashem comes down to a level where He does care about what we're doing. Like the father, he comes down to play with his child on his level. This that Hashem Kaviyachol makes that He should be affected by what we're doing, and that there's reward and punishment from our actions. This is through Das, which is in the Midas, from the way that Hashem cares about us, which is expressed in His feelings, in His attributes in Atzilus. This is called Das Tachton, the lower way of looking at things, that Hashem makes Himself like He's a character in our story. Infiltrate, that's right. Hashem comes down that He should be like part of our story, which is comes into the way that He's in the world. Oh, you see? We're speaking on how Hashem comes into the world and the lights turned on. Okay. Which this is the way that it comes down into our world, which means in the kingdom of the 10 spheres of Abiyah, which, like we said, that the 10 spheres of the kingdom of Abiyah means like Hashem's thought, speech, and deed, the way that Hashem expresses Himself to us in our level. Therefore, this that Hashem knows about us in that level is through Hashem's eyes, which means the Kelim and the Midas, which means the Kelim of Atzilus and of Biyah, and the Malachim, which through that Hashem cares about what we're doing, and that there should be reward and punishment for actions. That what we're doing, if somebody does something not good, it makes a change, it affects the Kelim, it affects the way that Hashem expresses Himself to us. Whereas this that Hashem knows everything in Das Elyon, this that from Hashem, the way that He's higher in the world, that He's the way that He's the author of the story, that He knows everything. So even though Hashem knows everything, it doesn't change and affect Hashem that He should want to do something about that to us in our world. So that's why you need to have these eyes and these hidden cameras, because this that Hashem knows everything is the author of the story. So it's not affecting Hashem that He should care to make the story different. Hashem is the author. Why should He care about what they're doing? He's making the story. Only the way that Hashem comes down to be like He's a character in our story, that He relates to us on our level. So then it makes a difference what we're doing. And so when Hashem comes down on this level, that He should be like a character in our story, so how does He look at us? He looks at us through things that you look through, which that's like eyes and ears, except that it's Hashem's eyes and ears, which that's the Midas of Atzilus and the Malachim. But it's still some type of way of hearing and seeing, which is limited compared to Hashem, who is the author of the story. But only through that, it affects Hashem in a way that He should care about what we're doing to give us reward and punishment, and not reward and punishment, reward and teaching us how to do better. Like we say in America, not punishment, teaching you how to do better. B'teida Shekain, who, so now the Alter is going to bring another idea which is connected to this to help us understand this better, the idea of Yediyah and Bechira. B'teida Shekain, who minyan Yediyah Bechira, shein Yediyah shein ha-Yediyah, she'Shem Yisbarach Yediyah, she'zeh Yetzadik, o'yarashem machrechas is Bechira klal. How do you know for sure that Hashem has two ways of looking at things? That Hashem has the way that He's the author and the way that He's like the character in our story? Because on the one hand, we say Hashem knows everything, and it doesn't change Hashem. Everything is happening. The knowledge that Hashem has of everything isn't changing Hashem. On the other hand, we're saying that we have free will. Meaning we could do like this, or we could do it like this. So if Hashem is only the author and He's not a character at all, so then there's really no Bechira. Because you can't, what do you mean you're choosing to do like this or do like this? Hashem, the fact that Hashem knows what you're going to do, that's what makes it happen. Right? If Hashem knows, everything is only coming to existence from Hashem's knowledge, so if Hashem knows that's what's going to happen, so then there's no way it can happen like that. But the way that Hashem comes down to be like a character in our story, so then it's not like that. According to what we're doing, that's what we get. Meaning we do have Bechira. The knowledge that Hashem has of everything before it happens, that's in Das Elyon, that's the way that He's the author. Which that's not through the Kelim of Esphris. The Ha'eni Hashem Hashem there was a Maisish Granase, she's near the Bechinas Hamalachim Makim de Biyah, Shanase is a Pigama Ukasim Hamalchu Canal. This that Hashem's eyes are coming to see what's happening. That means that after it happened, Hashem, through the Kelim of Atzilus and the Malachim, He's coming to see what's happening, and those Malachim and the Kelim are being affected by actions. Whereas this that Hashem already knows everything that's going to happen before it happens. That's not through the Kelim of Atzilus, that's not through the Malachim. But this is from a very high place in Hashem. B'chenes das elyon, from the higher way of Hashem's knowledge, the way that He's the author. V'liyus das ze b'chenes makif eina machriachas b'chira. But since Hashem's knowledge as the author is makif, it doesn't force us what to do. It's eina machriachas b'chira. Since the way that Hashem knows everything that's already going to happen is only the way that Hashem's the author, the way that Hashem's higher than being directly expressed in the world, so it doesn't force us what to do. Since it's not something that you could know about and you could feel, it doesn't affect your ability to make a decision. Just like it doesn't affect Hashem's midas, that there should be reward and punishment from the knowledge that He has in Das Elyon as the author. This, that there should be reward and punishment, is only through the way that the lower way of looking at things as the character in our story, which that's through the kingdom of Atzilus and the Malachim, which are called the eyes. V'ayim b'pardes shardal perik tes be'inyan yediyah v'chira shekasav ki yesh chilik b'yediyah kodem shechatarim av pisha az lachatay la'achar shechatacholu ayin shem lefi masher nisbar yuvan ki yediyah kodem shechatay zeb v'chinas das elyon u'kanal. So what does it say in pardes? That there's a difference in Hashem's knowledge before He does a sin and after. It says the Yigil midas rachmim havaya ki racham achanun. So it says, what's the idea of 2 times havaya? It says that there's one type of knowledge that Hashem knows before you're going to sin, and then that He knows after you're going to sin. So what's this big deal that you need 2 times havaya just because before and after? What, Hashem knows before and after equally? So why do you need 2 times havaya? Because they're 2 completely different levels of Hashem's knowledge. The knowledge that Hashem knows before you sin that you're going to sin, that's in Das Elyon. That's the way that He's the author of the story, so He knows you're going to sin. But the way that Hashem knows after you sin that He wants you to do tshuva, that's in Das Tachtern. That's after you already did a sin, so then Hashem wants to help you to do tshuva for your sin. So that's we're speaking about now. But Hashem, tomorrow continue with this idea.